Just give me 2 minutes.
Hello.
Am I
Hello.
audible?
Yes, sir.
Hi, Aniket. Myself, Avi Vijayvargiya. We'll be doing a mock interview. Hope you do well.
Uh, yes, sir.
Okay, so tell me about yourself. Technically, I mean.
Uh, Thank you for giving me opportunity to introduce myself. My name is Gaurav Londhe. I have recently completed my BE in Electronics and Telecommunication from Savitribai Phule University and securing 9.668 CGPA in that. And I am recently completed PGDTS CDAC course from Sunbeam Institute Pune, in which we learn a lot of technical skills, including networking, Linux, COSA, and also DevOps. But my interest lies in DevOps, so we developed a project including DevSecOps pipeline for automated Netflix clone to deploy in Kubernetes. This is about all about myself. Thank you.
Okay, great, Aniket. So can you explain me about your project?
Yes, sir. Basically, in my project, we try to implement all tools of the DevOps. Let's suppose Jenkins, Docker, Kubernetes, and also we use Git. Basically, our flow of the project was developer push the code to the Git, and then it uh, triggers the uh, message to the Jenkins. Then Jenkins pull the latest code from the GitHub repository and then checks the static analysis using SonarQube. After that static analysis, our code is then uh, going to the Docker, means Docker stage. Here we will build the Docker image using Docker file. So the after that the Docker image created, our image is scanning by Trivy, and the vulnerability and other image security, some checks are checked by the Trivy. After that, our application is go to the Docker container, means we check locally the application is working right or not. After that, we deploy the application to the Kubernetes, and after lastly, we monitor the application using Prometheus and Grafana. This is all about my project flow.
Okay, okay, great. In your resume, I can see you also use OWASP dependency check.
Yes, for all of dependency checks we use for checking third-party installations, we can say packages, which are used in that application to create by developers. So we check third-party applications or packages using that OWASP dependency check.
Okay, so have you used Maven for the build or something else?
No, we can't use Maven. We
Okay, okay,
directly
okay.
use Jenkins.
So it was already pre-made image, Docker image.
No, no. We tried Docker file, custom image. Then we deploy on Kubernetes.
Okay,
Basically,
great.
my role was to create Docker file in this project.
Okay, okay, got it. So can you explain me what is Docker?
Docker basically is a open source platform to make applications uh, runnable using containerizations.
So how does it differ from a normal VM? Containers, I mean.
Basically, basically means, sir. Can I get question
What's the
once again?
difference between containers and VM?
Okay. Containers basically works on host kernels. Basically, did not need full virtual, we can say OS, but virtual machines required full OS. So the downtime of the virtual machine is more, but the container downtime is very less. So the efficiency of the container is more than virtual machines.
Okay, great. So what's the difference between Docker build and Docker compose?
Docker build and Docker compose. Yes, sir. Hello.
Hello.
Hello. difference between
Hello.
Docker build and Docker compose.
Right, right.
Uh, so basically, Docker build is used for create only one image from the uh, means a Docker file. But in Docker Compose, we can use multi containers. We can use multiple images at a time in .yaml file. So we can create multiple containers using one single YAML file. This is the basic difference between them.
And how can you create a Docker image from a running container?
From running containers,
Right.
for running container, we have to use a commit command, Docker commit to
Okay.
means
Nice, nice, nice.
means
Got
create.
got it,
Yes.
got it. So
Okay.
how do you troubleshoot a normal Docker container? Can you tell me the steps?
Basically, we check for first which containers are running. Basically, we use a Docker PS command. After that, if we inside that we get uh, a status of the container, or we can say other ports or other information about the container, its name, its ID. But if the solution is not fine, then we use Docker PS hyphen A, means it's also show all running, and we can say stop containers with execute. But the main command is the Docker inspect, by using which we can execute all metadata of the container, and which helps to troubleshoot our container.
Okay. Have you tried Docker logs command?
Yes, tried logs command.
Yeah, yeah, it would be better to
Docker logs.
troubleshoot it with that. Okay,
Yes.
so
Also, we tried Docker inspect, so it's give
it's also
maximum
good.
metadata about it.
So Docker files. What are the few fields in the Docker file? Which are the important fields which are generally there?
Uh, yes. Basically, first field in Docker file is from, means from. From is the basically used for which image base image is use we are using to use in our applications. After that, we can say work dir command. So it implements that which directory we are going to use in container. After that, we using copy commands, which copies the files, or we can say required folders from host machine to the container area. After that, other commands like CMD, uh, which is used for after means if container is ready to run, then it uses CMD for the basic execution. Then also a run command, which uses during the building the image. This some type of fields are used in Docker files.
So what's the difference between CMD and entry point count in the Docker file? Do you know it?
Uh, yes, yes, sir. Basically, CMD we can means both the CMD and entry point uses for execution the container after the container starts. But the main difference is the CMD can be overridden, means we can during the dynamic runtime we can change the CMD command, means override it. But entry point command, this basically difficult to override it.
So when does that entry point command runs?
After the container starts
Okay, okay, good.
initially.
Do you know how to reduce a Docker image size?
Yes, sir. Basically, we can use the multiple steps like we can use alkaline images, so it can also be reduce the image size. Also, we can use multi-stage building, so that the one output of the means one static files from the one image, it's given to the second stage, so that we can reduce the image size. After that, we can combine multiple run commands, so it reduces the stages, and we can reduces the overall size of the image using two three solutions.
Great, great. So the Docker file which you have you used networking in it? Which type of networking have you used in your Docker file?
Networking, basically, I don't remember it.
Okay.
Network. Can I get clear, please?
What are the types of Docker networks? There are
Uh,
hosts, there are bridge network,
yes, yes, yes,
overlay.
yes. Yes, I get it. Get it. Basically, there are multiple type of networks: host, overlay, uh, also none, and one is more. I am not remembering right now. But in
Bridge.
host network, basically, our container is directly connected with our host network, and it uses stack IPs from the network of our host machines, and then it tries to get resources from the host machines only. And in overlay network, there basically multi containers can multi host machines can communicate with each other using overlay.
Okay, good. Let's move on to the Kubernetes questions. What is Kubernetes?
Kubernetes is basically a open source platform to manage, or we can say orchestrate the containers. And we can using Kubernetes, we can deploy, manage, and scalable the containers using very uh, faster, and we can say securely.
Okay. Do you know about the Kubernetes architecture?
Yes, Kubernetes architecture basically resides into two parameters. We can say Kubernetes master, and we can say Kubernetes node, but means worker nodes. In Kubernetes master, there are basically four parameters are be there. Control manager, which controls the all cluster of the Kubernetes. After that, API, sorry, kubelet is there, which manages all working nodes of the every sorry, which manages every node which running the pods. And etcd is the database, which is the key value pair database. After that, scheduler, which schedules the pods on the worker nodes. In worker node, basically proxies, which can be used for communication between a worker node and a master node. And kubectl, which basically is a command line tool by using which user can interact with Kubernetes cluster. This kind of architecture is Kubernetes having.
So, is kube proxy responsible for communication between worker node and master node?
No, basically API is responsible for that. I mistakenly said that. Kube proxy is basically uses for the uh, redirecting the services from the pods.
Okay. So what does kubelet do?
Kubelet basically maintains the criteria of the means maintain the monitoring on every node which pods are running. Means it watches every node wherever pods are running.
Okay. No, actually, kubelet is responsible for creating those node pods on the node. Kubelet communicates about the status and health of the pods to the etcd through API servers.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what does Kube Scheduler do? Is Kube Scheduler responsible for creating nodes, creating pods, or what?
No, it's basically used for scheduling pods on worker nodes. Means which pods will be scheduled on which node. This kind of structure is having kube scheduler.
Okay, nice. So can you tell me some controllers in Kubernetes?
Controllers.
Yes.
Um, no, no, sir, I can't get it. Can you tell me
Okay.
one, sir?
Uh, Deployment controller.
Yes, 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 I got it, sir. There are basically four type of controllers: deployment controller, replica set, stateful, and daemon set controllers. Basically, deployment set controllers we use it for automating the pod we can say scaling the pod according to the need. It also consists of rolling update and rollback, which is the best feature deployment set बोला गया था. Uh, so in a replica set is only responsible for auto scaling the pods. It doesn't having the features like rolling update or rolling rollback. After that, third controller is stateful set in which every pod is created. It gets a number and which manages the state. And after that, the last controller is a daemon set. It ensures that every worker node consists at least one pod. So these controllers are basically used in Kubernetes.
Okay, nice. But actually, there are more controllers, so don't say there are four controllers. There are also namespace, service controller. There are various controllers. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So what is a pod? We moved on to quite
Uh,
advanced topics first, but never mind. Can you tell me what is a pod?
Pod is a basically basic unit execution unit of Kubernetes, which contains single or multiple containers at a time, and which is responsible to running the containers.
Okay. So why is a pod needed in Kubernetes? Why can't we just run containers?
Uh, Basically, we need to deploy and manage the whole architecture of the Kubernetes. Basically, to manage number of containers at a time is not possible because pods contains because we are able to means collect number of regulated or we can say relational containers together by using if there is a no pod concept, then we cannot able to connect multiple means connected oriented containers together. Means some containers having a relationship with having some relations with each other, then pod is responsible for the collect them together.
But we can achieve that with containers also, no?
I don't know this right now.
Okay. So what is the difference between pod and deployment?
Pod in deployment. Basically, pod is a single entity, but by using a deployment, we can able to create multiple pods at the same time. Pod is basically single execution unit, but deployment is a API object of the Kubernetes.
Okay, nice. So can you tell me some Kubernetes objects?
Yes, deployment, service, ingress. These are the some Kubernetes objects.
So what's ingress?
Ingress is basically used for redirecting the services from the outer cluster to the our internal cluster. Means outer premises to the our internal cluster of the Kubernetes.
Okay. So what are Docker services?
Docker services. Docker services basically used to create for a number of pods at a time, or we can say uh, which are able to produce scalable environment using Docker service.
Uh, no, actually, Kubernetes services I'm talking about.
Yes,
You're
so
explaining
I
something else.
uh,
Uh,
you said
Cluster IP, if you
Docker.
remember, cluster IP, node port.
Yes, Docker. Kubernetes services.
Yes. Uh, it is
You told
used
that
for
Docker
use for
service.
networking in Kubernetes.
Yes. Cluster IP, node port, load balancer, and
Yes,
another is there.
you should have used that in your project, right?
Yes.
So which have you used in your project? Is it cluster
Uh,
IP or node port?
Node port basically because it uses one static IP for communicating other node.
Uh, Cluster IP also does that. What's
Yes,
the advantage
basically.
of using node port?
Basically, advantage of using Notepad is that it can be useful outside the cluster also.
Right, right, exactly. So
Yes.
it's used for exposing a port of the node. Okay.
Outside the cluster.
So
Yes.
have you done some troubleshooting in Kubernetes?
Uh, yes, sir, I have done, but exactly which type of things you are asking, then I can
So
relate
you
it.
have a scenario that your pods continuously are failing. They are starting, and whenever they start, they continuously fails. They start, they fail, they start, and then fail. So how do you troubleshoot this?
By using kubectl get pods command, basically to check whether the pod is actually running or not. And after that, by using seeing the uh, stats also, we can able to see that CPU is getting properly or not, all computer resources getting to the pod or not. So this can be the uh, problem with the container, so that it can be starting or failing continuously.
Mm, come again. How will you check if the CPUs are sufficient or not?
kubectl get stats.
Cat stats.
Sorry.
Okay.
In Docker is this command stats.
Yes, yes. I'm talking about Kubernetes. Even I got
Uh,
confused. Ki, is there a new command?
stats no. In Docker there is a stat command
Ah,
for
right.
seeing the statistics of the CPU and memory uses.
For Kubernetes, they did describe command, so you can check their
Yes,
describe
yes,
and logs.
yes.
Okay.
I have used a lot
So
of per right now.
if you have deployed a service, say a application on in Kubernetes, and you're not able to access the application outside, so what could be the reason?
Basically, you not using the means the service is a notepad basically. First reason, we can also you don't expose the right port of the application, and also the some policies or is required if you uh, deploying the application on some uh, online providers. So you need to check security groups also.
Okay. So you have used Jenkins for building CI/CD, right?
Yes.
So what kind of pipeline have you created? It's a declarative or scripted?
Basically, it's a declarative pipeline, which consists of multiple stages and proper scripting.
Okay. Can you name few of those stages?
Yes, basically, first step is a workplace clean. Means if there is a new build, then after every new build starting, initially the workplace is clean, so the build don't get stuck at any time. After that, second stage is git checkout. So it pulls the uh, latest code from the git repository to static analysis. After that, the next stage is SonarQube static analysis, which basically checks the uh, basically check the source files from the Git repository, which is the clone from the Jenkins. After that, we have OWS dependency checks, means whatever the files we are uh, getting, or we can say clone. So the packages or external third party, whatever the applications that contain some dependency checking or not. After that, we have uh, Docker image creation stage. In that, we create the image. In later step, we have tree scan image stage. In that, we scan the image. After that, we have a Docker container deployment stage. In that, we check only one single container that our application is running properly or not. After that, we deploy the application to the Kubernetes. The next stage having that deployment to the Kubernetes. And last stage is Prometheus and Grafana monitoring stage. This is our whole staging is implemented in Jenkins declarative pipeline.
So you have created a single pipeline.
Yes, single pipeline.
Okay. I mean, generally we create multiple pipelines. So in case a single pipeline fails, the whole productions don't go down.
Basically, we don't implement that.
Okay,
Uh,
that's okay. That's okay. So what's have you used the webhook for integration with GitHub?
uh, we don't use webhook. We basically use uh, Polysym. We can say Polysym for triggering.
Can you explain me what's that?
Means basically there we are using 5 stars of cron job in which we are able to fetch every minute, every hour, every day of the week and every month. So the as whatever whenever time the new code is updated on GitHub, Polysym will fetch the code that the Git repo is updated. Then it triggers the Jenkins. After that, the further process is done using Polysym.
Okay. So
Means only it
how
triggers the Git repo with Jenkins.
okay. So how have we configured monitoring?
Basically, we used Grafana and Prometheus for our monitoring purpose. Then we uses we can say Prometheus .yaml file in which we are using jobs which want to be monitor. And also in Grafana, we import the dashboards so that the basically which is available from the uh, initially. So we just enter the dashboard numbers and the application will be monitored using Grafana also.
So what were the fields in your dashboards that you were
Dashboards.
monitoring?
At that time, I'm not remembering it.
So
Basically,
try learning. You should
yes,
not
yes.
say that you have imported a pre-built dashboard. So it's an advice you can learn what are the how to create a dashboard. It's not that difficult. So then you can easily
Okay,
answer what are the fields. So okay,
okay,
great,
okay,
great so far.
okay,
Can you give me 1 minute?
okay, okay. Yes, yes,
Sorry,
sir.
something came up. Uh,
Okay.
so do you know about three-tier architecture,
Three-tier architecture.
application wise?
Yes, means front end, back end, and we can say database.
Right, right. So if you want to deploy a three-tier architecture application in your Kubernetes cluster, how would you do it?
Basically, we need to create one namespace. So the every architecture, every architecture part which will be separate from each other, and also we create 3 namespaces for that. And every namespaces we required some containers. So we create containers in every namespaces. After that, we required networking so that the containers of the every architecture part can be connected to each other, or we can say communicate with each other. So we implement the network part. After that, we required persistent volumes so the data can be persist in the after that the containers if the any happens we can say deleted or crash so that we can using these scenarios we can implement this structure and deploy the application on Kubernetes.
But how would you isolate your database from other application? I mean, from the security perspective.
By using namespaces,
Yes,
namespaces and
by namespaces you
network
can, uh, but they would be able to communicate with each other, right? Through cluster
yes,
IP or node port that you have configured. But I
yes, yes.
mean, yeah, in the security perspective, if the front end goes down, you don't want the database to be affected, right?
Yes, so that we can use the RBAC, we means rollback access control. So we can manage namespace, also namespace level, and we can also manage cluster level also. For namespace level, we have to first create role. After that, we have to create service account, and after that, we have to bind the role to that particular service account, so that anyone can't be go to the this namespaces and cannot be access the uh, uh, means authorized information from the database.
Okay, nice. One more thing that you can do is you can isolate a separate node for the database, separate node for the front end, and separate node for everything. So
Uh,
you can isolate
yes.
by that also. Great, great, great.
Uh, but also, sir, RBAC is also the good solution. No.
RBAC is also a good solution.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Wait 1 minute. I mean, that's it for the DevOps part. You have answered most of the questions which would be asked from a fresher perspective.
Okay.
Then actually I've done great so far. Means I've asked you advanced question also.
Okay.
Were were you using ChatGPT or something?
No, sir.
Great,
This is
great,
the
great.
reflection of my camera also.
Yes,
I
yes,
have
yes. No, I
in
was
this course,
surprised by a few of your
I
answers. I was
only
not
focus
expect.
on DevOps.
Okay, okay, okay.
Means I have a
Aniket,
better other.
Yes.
I think he is good enough.
Okay, okay. No problem. Okay.
So
Gaurav?
Gaurav,
Huh.
Yes, yes, yes.
so are you preparing for CK or something?
No, no, sir, no. For right now, I am not doing that. After the, we can say we can get place. I am trying for that.
Okay, that would be great because your basics are very clear. You know about the
Yes,
architecture, you know about the controllers, the services, everything. It would
yes,
be great to for after doing CK, you would be able to get more better
yes, sir.
offers. I mean,
Detail information. Yes, offers. Okay.
but after job, of course, it's a expensive certificate and would need up around 2 or 3 months of preparations.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Okay then.
Uh, right. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Gaurav, you can leave the
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.